what has apparently become the Rat Pack group. I was originally a part of this group a few months ago and kind of got away from it because unfortunately, I'm one of those youngsters that still has to work for a living. So the last few months have been interesting. I work for Microsoft, and everybody now seems to want to work remote. So I've been doing a lot of training and teaching people how to use remote software. So I've been a little busy, but now we're getting back. And let me give you guys, for those of you that may not remember, our first event, we did a Red Cross nationwide drill on May the 30th of this year. And let me preface that by first of all saying that first, I am not a Red Cross volunteer. I have no affiliation with the Red Cross. I am the Aries SEC for this section in Connecticut. And I was asked by one of the Red Cross planning team members to participate in this program. And like the old saying says, that no good deed goes unpunished. So I've been actively involved with this exercise that took place in May, and with planning for this one in November, the better part of the summer. So in May, we created an exercise that I will tell you, we created an exercise that was considerably more complicated than it ever needed to be. And we learned a great lesson from that. We had a part A and a part B, and nobody really understood what the difference between the two were. And we had messages going different places, and it happened. We had a great exercise. We learned a lot from it. But ideally, the exercise itself needed some refinement. So we're making an effort with the next one, which will come up on November 14th. So it's a single day, it's a Saturday. And the whole purpose of this exercise is the Red Cross has asked us to demonstrate, and basically what we're doing is we're demonstrating for Red Cross senior management. We want to demonstrate the amateur radio community's ability to send and to pass message traffic in a digital format. So the Red Cross centered on Winlink, and before all the hands start going up, yes, I know there are other digital formats other than Winlink. I happen to use several of them myself, but Winlink is the one that they have centered on. So our exercise is based on the idea of sending digital messages through Winlink. And we decided a long time ago that we didn't want a single station to have to receive several hundred messages from across the country and try and sort those things out. So what we did learn from the May 30th exercise was that we now have designated 6 stations as what we call regional clearing or divisional clearinghouses. Each one of them has a tactical Winlink call sign. And I'll try to show those to you here in a little bit. And each one of them is set up to receive the messages that will be generated across the country for their division. Now, the divisions were designated based on the Red Cross divisions. So New England is a division, Central Atlantic, the part of Virginia and that part of this country, the Southeast, the Southwest is one big group. So there's 6 different regions across the country. And the idea for this exercise is going to be very simple. We want people to generate messages based on a specific format. And they're going to be using Red Cross messages templates that are already in Winlink and sending those messages to their divisional clearinghouse. Now, when we did it in May, the message that was chosen was an ARC 6409, which is a big, long, detailed message of requesting supplies for a shelter. And it just got so complicated trying to show people how to fill out that form that most of the messages that came through weren't filled out correctly. So this time we're going to concentrate primarily on the ARC 213. Now, if you're familiar with ICS 213, it's a simple message form. It's a to and from message. There is a reply function that can be used. And we've actually been using that in some of the training that we've been doing. So we've been asking operators to send ARC 213s for the last couple of weeks now, and we've gotten several hundred of them back and forth from operators all over the country. So one of the things that we're doing is running what we affectionately call Winlink Thursday. Now, most of us that are familiar with the digital modes have heard of Winlink Wednesdays. Those go on a lot. We do it here in Connecticut for training. Winlink Thursday has been every week we have been putting out a message that says we want you to send a message to your divisional clearinghouse in this format. And essentially it was send an ARC 213, fill it out, tell us what the weather is in your neighborhood, but learn how to fill out the forms. And this week, what we actually did was the people who had been sending in the forms, sending in the Winlink Thursday messages, actually got a message back this week, which was an ARC 213. And their assignment for this week was to reply to it, to learn how to reply to a digital message on Winlink. So we're doing some training along the way. One of the things that our planning committee put together was basically what we call essentially their levels of proficiency. A basic, an intermediate, and an expert, effectively. And they're not any kind of requirements. They're nothing that says you have to be this level or you have to be this level in order to do something. It's just recommendations and a guideline for people who are just getting into Winlink. We're finding a lot of operators who want to participate in a drill like this, but they really don't know a whole lot about Winlink. So we're giving them some ideas, we're giving them the basic info on how to get started and how to learn how to use Winlink. And that brings up another little subject that I catch a lot of hell for, because here in Connecticut, when we're doing Winlink Wednesday, I tell my operators, I want you to be able to send and receive Winlink messages over an RF connection, over a radio. And we want you to be able to be independent of the internet. We want you to be able to hit either an HF or a VHF gateway. Now, if you can't do that, I tell them if the only thing you have available is Telnet, and you just have a laptop that has Winlink on it, and you can only send a message by Telnet, by all means, do it. Because the purpose of what we're trying to do is we want people, operators like yourselves, even if you're in a situation where you don't necessarily have a station at home, that has the capability of being a radio connection to Winlink. I want you to know how to use the software, and Telnet gives you that opportunity, because if you are in a situation where you may volunteer to go to a shelter, or you may volunteer to go to an EOC, and they have Winlink set up, it's not the first time you've ever seen it. There may be some differences in it, but you're not starting from scratch altogether. You know how to put together a message, you know how to respond to a message, you know how to pick a template, you know how to fill the templates out. So that's the important part of what a lot of this training is about. So November 14th, what we're going to be asking people to do is generate messages and send them to the Divisional Clearinghouse that is responsible for the area that you live in. So particularly, I live here in Connecticut. The guy who is the Divisional Clearinghouse for Connecticut is a gentleman who's out on Long Island. He's handling the whole Northeast, and he'll be receiving messages from folks all over the Northeast. He'll be then putting together a report for the Red Cross. So it's not going to be one of those things where, like we did in May, there was a process where you had to fill out a registration, and then we ask you to fill out survey forms at the end and all kinds of stuff like that. We've done away with all of that. We've tried to make this as simple as possible. The only thing we want you to do is learn where the divisional clearinghouses are, learn what the requirements are for the message, and send those form messages through Winlink to the divisional clearinghouses. We try to make it simple for us. Now, Dan, I've been talking for a little bit, and I see a couple of hands up. Let's take a few questions and see what we got.
Okay. Mitch, you want to go ahead and you got your hand up there first and ask us your question. W6LIK.
He seems to have disappeared from her screen.
I'm sorry, what'd you say, Barry?
He seems to have disappeared from her screen.
Yes, it looks like that. We'll go back to you, Mitch. How about John in Florida? Go ahead there. Well, we're on a roll tonight. We'll get one more time here for John. John, are you there? KN4ZUH.
You have to unmute.
Unmute, Barry said, unmute.
I can't unmute him. I can only ask them to unmute. Okay, let's
move on.
Okay, let's go to Tom. Tom, you got your hand up. And,
can you hear me all right?
Can now, sure, go right ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear. You're saying you'd prefer that the message go by RF. Are you asking for a peer-to-peer effort, or are we just to get it to an RF node that has WinLink connectivity?
If you can connect peer-to-peer to someone who then can connect to a gateway, that's fine. If you can connect peer-to-peer to the divisional clearinghouse, that would be fine as well, but I don't think most of the divisional clearinghouses are going to be set up to take peer-to-peer messages. They're going to be looking for messages coming in off the internet. So your best bet is to, if you cannot hit an internet node yourself, to find someone who can relay the message for you.
I have no problem hitting a node. I just wondered if you wanted to keep it all RF, as in relaying peer-to-peer.
No. If you can do RF, by all means, would much prefer as many messages as possible to be delivered over RF. Now, I'm not going to tell you it has to be on VHF WinLink. It has to be HF and more. It has on HF. Whatever method works for you is fine, as long as you send the message through. Now, as I said, if all you have is Telnet, or all the operators the operators are more in your area, if all they have is Telnet, we're not going to turn those messages away. But we're going to ask that, you know, your connection is what you have to work with, because we know there may be shelters that, or situations where if you're in an EOC, you might not be working on a radio, you might be working on Telnet, but you're still sending out Winlink messages. So we want people to be familiar with the software, and that's the point of the exercise. Dan, who else have we got?
Okay, let's go back up to Midge. Midge, down in the lower left-hand side of your screen, you'll see your microphone. It's part of got a cross to it. If you click on that, it will unmute you, or you can just push your space bar on your keyboard, and you can talk. Do you want to come on now, Midge?
He's still not there. Why don't we go on to John again?
Okay, let's go on to John. John, same thing with you. You want to unmute yourself and come on board? It looks like you're unmuted, so go ahead, John.
Yeah, I finally figured out how to do it. It wouldn't let me do it, so I got it. I'm a volunteer for the Red Cross. Our buildings down here are sealed off, which is where most of our radio equipment is, including our computer and everything else. People are not allowed in the building except for disaster assistance. So basically everything else is cut off. So the only thing we can do from home is what we have at home. Our radio equipment is not accessible. Our computer is not accessible. I was just wondering what you have about that, and then I got a follow-up question, please.
Well, we know that there's a lot of places across the country, like California and Oregon and Washington, have been a little busy for the last few months. So we realize that there may not be a whole lot of traffic coming out of those areas. We can look at Florida, actually, and the situation that you're locked down. A lot of other places around the country are locked down. At this point, whatever you can use at home, because all we're doing is asking you to send a message, we're very happy if you send it from home. It does not have to be from the Red Cross office.
Okay. And at the present time, all I have is a laptop. I'm familiar with Telnet. I'm an old Unix system administrator, so I've used Telnet a lot. My laptop has no mic out connection to connect up to any kind of amateur radio. So I'm guessing at this point, and it has no serial port other than USB. So I'm guessing at this point, Telnet would be my only opportunity.
Probably so, unless you're going to spend some time between now and the 14th to figure out how to connect a radio to it. But as I said, if Telnet is what you have to work with, that's fine.
Okay.
He's missing the point altogether. He needs to run Winlink on that laptop, which uses the Telnet protocol within Winlink.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I've gotten a lot of messages from, I get tickled when this happens because it happened in May and now it's happening again now. I've gotten several messages from folks that are telling me, well, I don't have a Windows computer, so I can't run Winlink. I have a Linux computer, or I have an Apple computer. How am I supposed to participate in this drill? Guys, I reinvented the computer for you. The program that the Red Cross has asked us to use is Winlink. So if it will run on your Apple or your Linux computer in an emulation mode and you're still able to send messages, that's great. If not, then maybe you need to look at another approach.
Well, I don't have a Linux. I'm just saying I'm familiar with it from my Unix background. That's all, because that's all we had was Telnet back then.
This telnet is completely different.
Right.
You need to download the Winlink software.
Yeah,
On your
it's a
computer.
different story altogether.
Oh, so it's not the Unix command line typing
You have
and
Winlink.
open connection, blah, blah, blah.
You have to run the Winlink software to actually create the messages in the Winlink software and then send them out from the software. Now, the software just simply means that it's connecting directly to the internet and not going through a radio protocol.
Okay, so it's not the command line typing text.
No,
Okay.
no, not at all.
Go to winlink.org and download the software and install it. And within the Winlink program, there's a Telnet protocol that you can use.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
we
if you're
just
not
want to
running
make sure.
Winlink right now, or if you're not already running Winlink, the first thing you want to do is go to winlink.org, find the software. It's there under, I think it's user programs or something, but it's right there. It's a free download. They do ask for a donation to make things a little better, but that's up to you. And download the software and get it up and running on your computer. If you can connect to a radio, that's great. If you have a TNC available or you have a way to connect to a radio, that's great. If you do not, I still want you to learn how to use the software. Okay?
I'd love to learn how to use it, but I want to make sure of one thing. I believe to connect to a radio, you need a microphone port, you need a speaker port, and you need a serial port, correct?
Negative. If you have a USB port, you can find a TNC that will allow you to connect to a radio. So you need to go out on eBay, or not eBay, but on YouTube and look on how to set up a Winlink radio with your computer.
So you can do it all from one USB port.
Mhm.
Yes, you can.
Cool. I didn't know that. Thank you.
Okay, Dan, we got another question for us?
Yeah, we do. Mitch, are you back yet? She's still muted.
Sitting
Okay,
there.
I'm just going to lower her hand for right now,
Okay.
and I'll lower. Okay, go ahead, Barry, and take some questions out of the chat.
Okay, this one I'm not sure you can answer because this is referring to something that's way above our heads, but I'm going to read it anyway. From John, KG7 WFQ in Washington. Is the capability demonstration a prelude to the Red Cross eliminating its organic amateur radio capability and relying upon Aries?
We have no indication that that is their intention. But
Okay.
then again, I don't have, as I said, I'm not a Red Cross volunteer. I have no insight into what the Red Cross is planning. I would say that, quite honestly, that would not be a very intelligent move on their part to eliminate their own internal radio systems or internal radio groups. If I were them, I would not do. So this is my view. I have no idea what they have planned. But I can tell you that the senior leadership did not direct this this particular drill, this exercise, neither the one in May or the one in November. Those are answers to the question, how can we work with amateur radio? So I don't see that as an indication that they want to get rid of anybody.
Okay. Next question is from Chris, KD0IVV in Iowa. He had an email several weeks ago to participate in the Thursday Winlink test. Since that time, he's not received any further instructions as to any subsequent Winlink tests on Thursdays. Where does he go to get the new messages to participate?
Okay, if you want to, if you're not getting anything to talk to you about Winlink Thursday, send me an email or send an email to Wayne.Robertson. Let me put it in chat. Let's see, hang on here. Okay, I just put my email and Wayne's email, wayne.robertson@redcross.org. Send your name and address, or send your name into those two email addresses, and we'll make sure you got a mailing list. So the drill is three and a half week away. We're going to have Winlink Thursday. We're going to continue to practice. We're going to use those as an opportunity for people to practice on sending those messages, okay? The divisional clearinghouses will be listed when we send out those messages. As I said, there's only 6 of them across the country. And that allows us to kind of break up the traffic so not one person gets it all. But if you want to participate, and let me tell you this, when you get one of those messages, feel free to share that message with anybody in your Aries organization or your amateur organization across the country. Don't be afraid to share it. We would like to have as many people as possible. When we did the drill in May, we had over 2,000 operators across the country participating, everywhere from Oscar down in Puerto Rico up to folks in Alaska and Hawaii. We had and we'd love to have as many people as possible participating in this, because the more we have, the more data we have to show to the Red Cross and to the ARRL. Now, you guys know that we have a new, what is he, Director of Emergency Management or Director of Emergency Communications at the League. We want to be able to show him that we have the ability to respond to a message or an exercise like this, and to show them what we can do. Aries across the country is pretty fragmented. What happens in California doesn't correspond to what happens in Florida. What happens here in Connecticut is different than what happens in Texas. Everybody's a little bit different, but overall, our mission is still the same.
Okay.
To work with, and sometimes they work with us, sometimes they don't. We all know that, but we try to do the best we can.
Yep.
What else you got, Barry?
Okay, because Thursday isn't not over yet, can we still check into Winlink Thursday? To whom should we address the messages? To a regional clearinghouse?
Yeah, the regional clearinghouses would be the message, but at this point, let me see if I can go find a copy of the, or a message with the divisional clearinghouses on it. Hang on here just one second. I've gotten all kinds of messages that say they want to participate.
Your last week's training message had the PDF with that on it.
Yes, the message that was sent out last week has that info on it. Let's see here. Yep. Okay. Let's see. Let me see if I can share my screen now.
See, he does sing, folks.
Not very well. Okay, so now I'm sharing. You guys should see, this is actually from last week. And
We are
here
able to see
are
it.
the divisional clearinghouses. I said there were 6 of them. I'm sorry, there are actually 7 because Hawaii and the Pacific Islands are a divisional clearinghouse by themselves. So there are 7 divisional clearinghouses, and these right here are the tactical addresses. And you can see they're quite complicated. The Northeast is ARC Northeast. Central Atlantic is ARC CENT, you know, it's not very complicated. And if you want, well, I can't do that. I can't copy that and put it in chat, but you guys copy down the divisional clearinghouse. Let me see if I can get you the divisional clearinghouse map.
Mike, you can put a file into chat. There's a place on the left, on the bottom right-hand side to put a file in the chat.
Okay. This is actually the divisional clearinghouses. Now, can you guys see that all right?
Yes.
Okay, so this is, you'll notice the, like here we have Pennsylvania, New York, Connecticut, New Jersey. This is the Northeast. This is Central Atlantic. This is Southeast. So these are the divisional clearinghouses. So if you live in Texas, you only have to have one address for the divisional clearinghouse for Texas. You only have to send that message to one place. If you are in Iowa or Montana or Georgia, any of those places, you only have one address to send to. If you're lucky enough to be out in Alaska, Guam, you know, Samoa, Hawaii, you can send to that division by itself. So you only need to have one address. Let me see if I can go back here now. Whoops. Come on. Here we go. So again, these are the addresses for who to send a message to. Now, if you're not getting information about these events, one person I would love for you to send a message to, if you have Winlink capability, is to that central clearing or divisional clearinghouse. Send a message to them and say, put me on your mailing list, because all of these guys are building mailing lists themselves within Winlink. So if you want to be on their mailing list, send a Winlink message to the divisional clearinghouse for your area. Okay? All right, Barry, what else we got? I'm gonna leave this up for a moment. So what else you got?
For general questions about Winlink setup, go to winlink.org, or you can look at the previous presentations that we've done here to learn about how to set up your Winlink.
Mike, can I interject something, W1GTT?
Right ahead.
Sure, Bill, go ahead.
Yeah, just make sure everybody realizes that they don't, if they're working on Winlink, either Telnet or any of the HF, VHF nodes, they do not have to put anything after that address. That is the address as it stands. They don't have to put at winlink.org. Sometimes they do that. They end up doing it winlink.gov and things like that, and it doesn't go anywhere. That is the address right there as it is seen. Sorry for interrupting, W1GTT.
No, that's actually a very good point, Bill, because I have a couple of people here in Connecticut, and you probably know some of them, that every time they send me a WinLink message, they send it from their Gmail account and they address it to WinLink or to my call sign at winlink.org. And then they want to know why they can't get the forms to work. So the only thing that we want you to do is to use the WinLink software, and the software will ask you for an address. For instance, if you send me an email or a WinLink message, the only address you have to put in it is W8ZY, nothing else. Now, you do have the capability from WinLink to send to an SMTP address or something like that. So if you could send it to my Hotmail account, you could just, we would send it to w8zy@hotmail.com. But within WinLink, the only thing you need is the call sign. And for these divisional clearinghouses, the only address you need are these right here, the tactical addresses. There's no at anything. So that's a very good point, Bill. And we've had a lot of folks who are just new to WinLink. When we tell them it's a hybrid email program, the first thing they want to do is start adding the at symbol to the addresses, and it screws everything. It doesn't go anywhere, is what it amounts to. Okay, has everybody got a copy or copied down the address that they need for this? Make sure you get those. Okay, so I'm going to
They were
stop
placed
sharing.
in a file on the chat deal.
Okay, we'll get.
Good.
Okay, next question is, I'm not sure you can answer this one either. Has the bottleneck that existed during May at Atlanta been corrected? The people in Pensacola tried for almost 2 hours without success.
Say that again, Barry. I didn't quite catch it.
The bottleneck that existed during the May exercise in Atlanta, has it been corrected? Because the people in Pensacola couldn't get through for over 2 hours.
I do not know right off the bat what that bottleneck was, quite frankly.
Okay.
I'm hoping that if it was a technical issue that it's been corrected, but I do not know.
Okay, that's what I figured. And you put out the divisional clearinghouses, so that question's been answered. How about the time frame for the November 14th exercise?
We will start on November 14th. The time frame, because if you're, remember, this is a WinLink exercise. You don't have to log into a net. You don't have to do anything like that. So you can actually set up and send your message early in the morning or later in the afternoon. It's not a question of we're going to run the exercise from 9 a.m. until 3 p.m. Eastern time. It's a WinLink exercise, and we want to generate messages. So anytime on the 14th, we'll be waiting for those messages to start coming in.
Another question, do you have a WinLink call sign for Telnet also on HF?
Well, if you're using HF, it's the same software.
Right.
So yeah, it would be the very same call sign. If you start using WinLink, you will find that it doesn't care how you connect, whether you connect by Telnet, by VHF, by HF. It doesn't care. It still sends the messages the same way.
Okay.
So one's a little faster than the other, but that's about the only difference.
Are there call signs for the clearinghouses? You just use the tactical call signs, correct?
Just the tactical call signs, yes. During the May exercise, we released the call signs of the guys who were running the divisional clearinghouses. They started getting email on their personal email accounts, on their Hotmail accounts, on their ARRL accounts. They started getting all kinds of stuff. This time, we only want you to use those tactical WinLink call signs. That's it.
Okay. Will the 14 November exercise include reply to ARC 213s as we did in today's WinLink Thursday?
Probably what what I would do if I were everybody, and I'm going to tell everybody this because what I'm writing right now is the actual instruction sheet for the exercise itself. I'm going to tell everybody, when you create your message, ask for a reply, a read receipt, so that you get a message back that says the Divisional Clearinghouse got your message. Okay. Typically, you're not going to be getting a message back from the divisional clearinghouses, another ARC 213 for you to reply to, because quite frankly, it would just generate more traffic than we can handle in one day's exercise.
And the next question is, how many messages are expected?
Overall, I would love to see anywhere from 500 to 1,000 messages generated that day.
Okay.
Realistically, I'd love to see as many as possible.
Yes.
But from what we've seen in the practice sessions, I think realistically we can say we'd love to see 1,000 or 500 to 1,000 messages that day from across the country.
Bill, this is
Linda, for our hand, I think we've covered all of the questions in the chat for now.
Bill. This is AD7AV. The question I meant was, from each operator, do you just want one message?
Typically, what we're asking for is just one message. But if you have a reason, say you have a group of people and each one of you wants to generate a message, because in the ARC 213, it asks you who is the message from. You can put that it's from Western Washington ARIESnet, or you can put that it's from an individual operator. If you want to generate more than one message, that's perfectly fine.
Okay, are we out of the chat questions there, Barry?
We have finished. We've gone to the bottom of.
Okay, let's go up here and catch Linda. Linda, W5LDK, come on board.
Hi, I'm both an ARIES member and a Red Cross member here in Houston, Texas. And there was a comment made earlier about kind of the Red Cross ARIES relationship. And as far as I've heard and working with our local chapter, there is no discussion at all of separating between Red Cross and ARIES. As a Red Cross member, I always encourage my ARIES members to also join the Red Cross. There's a lot of benefits to that, and that the Red Cross will pay for travel, provide housing, provide food, sure beats sleeping in your Jeep on an assignment. Also for here in Texas, what we've been very successful with over this last year is we've, WB5HJB, who's also on this call, and I have been hosting Winlink beginners classes, and we walk them through using Zoom from installing the software, configuring the software, and generating their first 213 on just doing Telnet. And so we'll be doing that next Wednesday night, October 28th. You can look on our South Texas ARIES Groups IO if you're interested in that. Plus we'll be recording it and putting it out there. We did something similar to this for doing our 6409 in the spring. We even had a couple of the Winlink developers that attended that training. It was very well received. So we'll also be doing an intermediate class before the exercise, specifically with using the ARC 213 and anything else that might be required. So back to yourselves.
Thank you, Linda. I think if you concentrate on C213, you'll probably be in good shape this time. You know, one of the big lessons that we really got in the feedback from the May exercise was that it quite honestly was just too complicated to explain to everybody and to expect people to pull off all the little nuances that were built into that exercise. So we have cut back and made things a lot simpler this time. Dan, who else you got there?
I'm out here. Barry, do you see anybody
I don't
else?
see anybody else. There was a question about if someone lives on the edge of a zone, how does he know which clearinghouse to use? Because he's smack dab in the middle between Central and Atlantic.
Well, Nick, if you live in Ohio, you are Central Atlantic. So if you have an address that says Ohio, you're in Central Atlantic. I don't care if you're, you know, if the next street over is Illinois, you're still in Ohio. So that puts you in Central Atlantic. So that's where you are.
I see that, but if you look at the map, part of the North Central division cuts into Ohio.
Well, let's just call that over as basically a fallacy in the map. So
it
just
should be Atlantic.
Yeah, you should be in Central Atlantic. Don't worry about that.
Thank you.
We're good in the chat, Dan.
Okay. Nobody's in the other, so Mike, go ahead with if you got more on your presentation.
Yep, I want to go back to the info that I was sharing, and let's see here. This particular let's see. There we go. This particular message, or this is last week's instructions. There are a couple of things on the ARC 213 form that it gives you the general message. The DR number is an option. You don't have to worry about that. It will say incident name and it will say optional. And a lot of operators think that you don't have to put anything in there. And then message number also shows up as optional. You do not have to put anything in there. However, in the one that's labeled incident name, and again, it says optional, but when you go to try to send the message, it will kick it back and say you need to put an incident name in there. Just put Red Cross drill, something very simple. You don't have to worry about you know, any kind of specific name, or just put Red Cross drill. That's the easiest thing to do that. Fill out your message. The rest of it is very, very simple to fill out. You just fill in the forms. When it asks you who do you send it to, the name and position, you put the divisional clearinghouse. All you have to do is put that tactical address. Now, you fill out the name. Precedence is always going to be routine, because 213 messages are routine. We don't use those for anything other than routine. Name, to and from, the date, all that stuff can be filled out. When you submit the message, it will go back to Winlink, and you'll still have to put in the address of the tactical clearinghouse. So write down that address and keep it handy, because you'll use it a couple of times, and it's unusual because we know these are different, but we want you to fill it out and send it to the right person. Now, a lot of guys have been sending training messages. They send me copies of training messages. I don't care if you do that at the end of this message or the end of this drill. I can always put all the messages into a folder and move them out of my inbox. So that's not a big deal. Okay. Any other questions about how to go about doing any of this stuff, how to go about filing the messages, what you want to be, you know, what the message includes, anything like that? Any questions for anybody right now?
This is John in Florida.
Yes, sir.
As a Red Cross volunteer, I'm also, I wear several hats, including emergency, disaster response, disaster action team, several other things. My question was, are our Red Cross DPMs aware of this? Because my DPM is not a ham radio operator. And every time I talk to her about this kind of stuff, she says, I never heard about it. And the second part of that is we have a 6-meter band. We have 2 frequencies on the 6-meter band that are not amateur radio bands. They're private bands. And can we use those bands for Winlink? Or is that not allowed?
Well, I don't think you can use them for Winlink because you have to have someone on the other end actually receiving the message. And if you use them for peer-to-peer Winlink, you probably could. But at this point, I would say your best bet is either going to be 2 meters or HF. But the question of do they know anything about it, as again I said, I'm not a Red Cross volunteer. We do have people who are on the Red Cross teams that are supposed to be promoting this internally. That's up to them. I can't do that job. I'm an Aries guy. Aries is the only group that I can actually speak for. But at this point, I'm hoping that they learn something from the May drill and that they're promoting it a little better internally within Red Cross. We had quite a number of people from Red Cross in the May drill that had no idea what we were doing. And that's, to me, that's a failing for the Red Cross.
Sounds like I got a 4th hat to put on.
Okay, I'd like for people to get away from just jumping in. Raise your hand or put your question in the chat. We're going to get some doubling going here, and that's not going to work out so well.
I could
So,
in from the chat.
go ahead, Barry.
Okay, from Jeff, N1 JCM. Will you have another Wednesday or Thursday training session for ARC 213 messages from form sends? To this point, we did not know about these weekly sessions.
Yes, there will be more training sessions coming for the Thursday Winlink sessions. We'll try to get that info out. Again, if you're not getting those, send me and Wayne an email that says you want to get the messages.
Okay. Then another question, looking at the Winlink Express HTML forms, there are 4 ARC 213s listed, along with multiple versions of other forms. Which one do they use?
There should be an ARC213.txt, TXT file. That would be the one that you want to use.
Okay. Southeast regions transmit to both.
How is Southeast Michigan in 2 regions?
I don't know. That's what he's saying. I'm only reading it.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, when in doubt, yes, send it to both. I don't think it'll hurt a thing to send it to both.
Okay.
You shouldn't be in more than one region.
That's what I thought, but
if for some reason you are, send it to both.
okay.
Hey, Mike, it's Jeff Grundis. That was my question. Look at the map. You'll see Southeast Michigan is broken into 2 regions.
Well, I think we talked about that a little while ago, Jeff, and I basically said that it's not so much a fallacy of the regions as it is of this map. So Southeast Michigan. Okay, yeah, it's,
So
if you're in Michigan, you're in North Central Division. It's that simple.
I'm going to belabor the point. It looks like Monroe County, Michigan is part of Toledo, which is kind of considered a suburb, and that's why it's broken up that way.
Well, let me tell you, if you're in Michigan, you're in North Central Division. It's that simple.
Fair enough.
No matter what that map shows, that's where you are.
Okay. Must be sure that they have the most current WinLink software and the version of the forms, because I guess the new version of there's only one ARC 213.
Yeah, one thing, every time you open the WinLink software, it's going to try and update. And if there are any updates to forms or to the software itself, if you're connected to the internet, it's automatically going to update. By all means, let it do it. Get the most up-to-date version of that software. So that's another reason why having a computer running WinLink that's actually connected to the internet is a handy thing to have. So you keep your software up to date.
Okay, that's everything in the chat. We have a hand up again.
We do. Howard, go ahead. Howard, KV4LY, unmute and take her away. Howard, if you on a regular...
I apologize.
you
I
go.
tried your two shortcuts and it didn't work to unmute myself. Okay. Another statement concerning that you actually haven't explained it too well is the ARC 213 form that you're looking for is actually under templates. Go into templates
yes.
after you start a message, and that's where you'll find the ARC 213 forms that you're looking for, and it is under ARC. The problem we had in Atlanta, which was my question also earlier last year, March, our last exercise, was that we were told to use a P2P to get to Atlanta, and they were completely swamped, and we could not get our 100-watt signal into that area loud enough for them to actually catch on and connect to us. So we waited 2 hours trying even after the exercise was over to get into it. But thank you very much for the information on the Red Cross and the WinLink Thursday. We have a WinLink Monday in Florida that we exercise quite extensively over in this area. But that's another good exercise. We also do once a month, we do a WinLink training to get my people up to speed on WinLink, both from basics, and we're talking about the TNCs, both external and internal. Just to give you a heads up on that, we should have a lot more people in November to be able to operate this exercise. Thank you very much for what you guys do. We're out of here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mike found the form, so we're good. We told him the right thing.
Good.
Okay.
Questions from chat.
And I think we just heard from John. That is correct, right? Okay.
No, that was Harold.
Okay, Harold, this
It was
is for
Harold.
John. Okay, you're right. I'm sorry, Harold. Hang in there. John, go ahead and unmute yourself.
I was just wondering, has anyone tried to do this with a cell phone? And if
No,
they
we don't
have,
use cell
how do
phones.
they do it?
We don't use cell phones.
I mean,
You can
actually
run
have
WinLink.
You have hotspot for the cell phone. I don't know if there's a USB cable that will connect or anything like that. I was just wondering if anybody has tried it.
I'm sure somebody has, using the cell phone as a hotspot to telnet, but I think that would be absolutely my last resort.
I agree, but I mean, if you're in the middle of a hurricane, what do you do?
Well, if you're in the middle of a hurricane and you're depending on your hotspot on your cell phone, you're out of luck. Because I'll guarantee you the cell phone network will be so crowded that you're not going to get much of a signal through anyway.
Right. That was a polite way to put it. Thank you.
All right. Are there any
I
more
spent
questions
almost
out
20
there?
years working in the cell phone business, so I can tell you that when anything happens, the first thing that happens is a cell phone network reaches a level called blocking. And when that happens, your cell phone is a cup holder, and that's about all it's good for.
Okay, I got a couple of more questions in the chat.
Okay.
Where can info be found about the use of the various ARC forms? From Doug.
Here's Doug, AD7AB in Washington State.
Yep.
I'm a radio officer for an EOC, and this is for a private entity that would probably have shelters, and we have an MOU with the Red Cross. That's the reason I'm participating this evening. And I'm wondering about resources for filling out Red Cross forms. We use Winlink extensively here in Pierce County, and that's in Pierce County, Washington. We have regular nets and so on and so forth. And we use the ICS 213, so we'll be quite familiar with ARC 213.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is regarding beyond Winlink, will there be further drills where we get familiarity with the forms of the American Red Cross? We'll pass it back to net control.
Well, that question will have to go to the Red Cross. I mean, as I said, I'm not a Red Cross volunteer at all. So if you want info on how to use the Red Cross forms and become familiar with them, I would suggest you find someone at your local Red Cross office and get them to help you out with that. There is going to be someone who's a disaster services technology lead in Red Cross, and that would be the person that I would look for.
Very good, thank you.
Yes,
Back to Nick. This is AD7.
I'd like to interrupt for a moment. redcrossvolunteer.org. Look it up, redcrossvolunteer.org. And they have all the training you want.
Okay. Can you send the PDF, the 2 PDF forms you sent before, because someone was kicked off and they can't get access to them?
We can try and put those into the chat.
Put them into the file and they should come on.
Yeah, I'll make sure that Dan gets those so he can put them in the file and he can keep that.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.
And Vince also sent them privately. So we're good in the chat now.
Okay. Yeah, Mike, send these forms to me and I'll be more than happy to put it into when we do the follow-up on this. Okay. I don't see anything more. Are there any more questions out there?
N7VR.
Okay, Jim.
Yeah, just a quick understanding, Mike. You're still going to send out those training exercises on the SEC reflector, aren't you?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
My goal is when we did the drill in May, the IAP, which was published for the drill, about 30 pages long. And it kind of reminded me of stereo instructions from the 70s. So my goal for this time is for the instruction sheet to be at most 2 pages, 3 or 4 pages at most. And it'll be something simple and explain this is what you need to do.
Sounds excellent. N7VR.
All right. Is there anything more?
I can't find the hold up your hand button on the screen, just faces. But I need to know if a tech can do all this participation in Winlink.
Absolutely. If you have a laptop or a computer with Winlink on it, you can participate. Now, if you do have the capability or can get the capability to connect your computer to your radio on 2 meters, you can still do Winlink. So you have more than enough capability to do Winlink.
Well, I have a signal link. There's no problem with that. It was the legal aspects of using a certain frequency that I was concerned about.
Mike,
Yep.
don't forget, if those people have never used WinLink, they need to register and get a call for WinLink. That should be all part of the initial training, W1CTT.
Yeah, it's part of the initial setup for WinLink. It'll ask you, do you want to register your copy of WinLink? I think they ask for like $20 or something. It's very cheap. It's voluntary. You can operate without it. But yes, you can, even as a tech, you can operate WinLink. Now, you have to stay within your operational restrictions, but there's nothing that says if you can't use WinLink.
Okay. Yeah, the WinLink is, you got any class license, you could be on WinLink, period. It's just the way it is, folks. And it's fun and very useful. Okay, Mike, I don't see more questions. Barry, do you?
Comment. Someone says that WinLink works great with Wine32 or Linux. Express is PE32, so don't use Wine64. So for any of you Linux people out there, use Wine32, not Wine34, to run WinLink. And that's it.
I prefer red wine myself, but that sounds like a pretty good deal. Okay. I'm looking for more questions. I'll throw a question out there. If we were to get somebody to do a presentation very shortly on just doing WinLink, just walking through the stages to do a WinLink for this kind of exercise, would that be a benefit to everybody or some of your folks?
I think that's a great idea.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, we'll see what we can do. Stay tuned. Okay, anyone else looking for Tom, I kind of left you out here. Do you have anything you want to add?
No. I want to say thank you to Mike, and he can thank Wayne because I'm the guy that was pestering him. So thank you.
I love it. Nope, nothing else.
Okay, looks like Tim's got a question. Up there's a KC1 TWR.
Oh, he's one of my Connecticut guys. He's going to be trouble, I know.
Okay. Tim, hit your space button and start talking. Okay, no Tim yet. He's unmuted.
Tim, you there?
I'm
Okay.
here.
Is this better?
That's a lot better.
There he is.
Hi, Tim.
The right microphone. Talking about the training session for WinLink, especially how to download and then how to register it, because I've had more people in our area that have tried to download it and said, I'm confused on how to register it. There's no clear path or what have you on how to do it. So I think it would be very beneficial to have a step-by-step, this is what you do, this is what you should expect to see.
Okay, Tim, I'll work on that specifically for Connecticut, but we can also share that info with Dan and the group here. So.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to try and put together a session just on that. So what you've got to share there will be helpful also. So we can get everybody just walking through the steps and be no confusion. Okay, Tim, I think we just had you. Are you done?
Yes, I am.
All right, thank you very much. I'll lower your hand. Do you see anything in chat there, Barry?
Nothing in chat right now.
Okay. Mike, how you doing? Are you done with the presentation? You got more for us?
Someone in chat says, I'm looking at Form 213 or ARC 213. What to put in the address line, please? It means the subject line. The subject line will actually fill out itself when you fill out the form and then submit the form. When you go back to WinLink, you'll see the message window is there and the subject line is already filled out. So you don't have to worry about that. All you have to put in is the address for the subject or for the message itself. And that is the Divisional Clearinghouse.
Okay, I'm glad you caught that. As I looked earlier, I saw that. You saw it before I did. Okay, is there anything else? Okay. Well, Mike, if you don't have anything else, maybe we start wrapping this up.
Well, it looks like Oscar's already gone to bed on us. I think he's still on, but he's done crawled into covers. So I'll thank everybody for listening to me tonight. And you've got my email address. You've got Wayne's email address. We look forward to having a whole bunch of people participating in this. This is going to be a fairly simple drill. It's generate a couple of messages and send them to those divisional clearinghouses. And we want to be able to say that we've got a lot of people who can participate in this sort of exercise. We want to show that to the Red Cross and to the ARRL. My intention is to try and wake the guys in Newington up and get them to realize that there's people out there in the country.
Good luck with that one. Good luck with that one. I might, as long as everybody's here, at least most of the people here, I might bring up what Rat Pack is. The people, some time ago, for my sanity, I put together a planning committee. It's varied over time and now kind of simmered out. They are very responsible for most all the things you see us doing. And that team, all of us, are either section managers or part of the field areas leadership that's on that. So it's almost all of it's ARRL related as far as the people putting this together. However, this forum doesn't particularly cover just ARRL things. So they came up with the name of Rat Pack. And I think that it's kind of deserving of it. And from that, that's the committee name. That's not, as we go forward, we're too. We have directors, we have officers, we have all kinds of people from the ARRL that are supporting what we do. But the league themselves don't want to be directly involved at this point. That may change in the near future, but until then, we don't put the ARRL logo up there anymore, but we still carry on and present these things. Hope that explains that. Is there anything else before I pull the plug? I don't see anything. Barry?
I don't see anything, but can you send me the copy of last night's presentation? I can't find it on my computer.
Oh, I sent it out, but I'll make sure you get it.
Okay, thanks. Nothing else.
Okay. 73s, everyone. Thanks for attending, and we'll see you next week.
Mike.
73s.
Thanks, guys.